All right, Mr. Mayor, we are live and ready.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. So regular meeting of the Seldovia City Council, Monday, March 24th, 2025. Time is 6:04 p.m. and we'll go ahead and do roll call. Keithley.
Here.
Langbart.
Here.
Barber.
Here.
Rojas.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
And Peyton.
Here.
Okay, we do have a full body present tonight with no absences. And Heidi or Liz, if someone could lead us off in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. As we had said, there's no absences tonight, hence no excused absences. And that'll take us to item D, agenda approval. And we'll look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Mayor Campbell,
Yep, go ahead, John.
I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I second.
Okay, we have approval by Kennedy to approve tonight's agenda with a second by Keithley. Any further discussion on the agenda before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's agenda. All those in favor, Keithley.
Aye.
Langbart.
Aye.
Barber.
Aye.
Rojas.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
And Peyton.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. That is for tonight's agenda. That'll take us to item E, the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are approved with a single motion, no discussion, and one vote. A council member may request to remove any item for discussion and a separate vote. Items removed from the consent agenda will be placed under new business. Tonight's consent agenda consists of the approval of minutes from the regular meeting on March 10th, 2025. And ordinance 25-10, which is a non-code ordinance of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, amending the FY25 budget by appropriating funds from the Major Maintenance and Repair Fund to the Boat Haul Out Special Revenue Fund capital projects for the repair of the large boat haul out trailer that has a recommended public hearing date of April 8th, 2025. Does any member at this time wish to remove any item for further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll go and look for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Rojas to approve tonight's consent agenda with a second by Langbart. Any further discussion on the consent agenda before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor, Keithley.
Aye.
Langbart.
Aye.
Barber.
Aye.
Rojas.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
And Peyton.
Aye.
Motion passes, 6 in the affirmative, 0 opposed. That is the approval of tonight's consent agenda. That'll take us down to item F, mayoral proclamations. We have none tonight. Item G, public presentation prior notice. I see no one here. Is that still correct, Liz?
That's correct.
Okay. That'll take us to item H, public presentations for items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone signed up for tonight?
I think Mr. Holt's online.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Mayor, hope you can hear me okay.
Yep, got you loud and clear.
Right on. Well, just a few quick just recaps on things that we've got coming up in this next month. For Seldovia Village Tribe, we're working on some special kid activities as the school has a early release day on the 11th. and it will be an excellent time as they're doing all types of egg decorating, crafts and cookies. And also on the 18th, the school is closed that day. That's a Friday, and we will be doing some tie-dyeing and just having a whole lot of fun. The next day, Saturday, the 19th, is the community Easter egg hunt. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I know it's been going on for my lifetime, and I'm 55. So it's, a lot of years and folks who have put in the time to make that a great event for the community. And this will be our first year without hard-boiled eggs. But it'll still be awesome. Plastic eggs, toys inside. And then when it's done, they can go to the chapel and get plastic eggs with lots of candy. I'm pretty sure I heard 4,000 eggs were packed last year at the church. So sugar them up and then get up bright and early on Sunday morning for sunrise service and some Easter celebrations. So lots coming up in April. And also for the last week of April, we've got the Spring Carnival. It's going to take place. It'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday with games and activities at the school on Thursday and Friday. And it looks like we're going to be planning some fun activities that are happening throughout town on Saturday. Might be some kayak races, 5K, a few other things. Start stretching out, Mr. Mayor. Get in there, get in there, get in it to win it. They're going to have a new route and everything this year. So something to look forward to. And it's always great to just cheer on our friends and our family and all the kids in the community. So hope everyone can be a part of that. Really appreciate that we have a number of community members who have jumped in to give their advice and encouragement and possible organization themselves of a few activities. And then just on a final note, boy, I was running the Boys and Girls Club in 2009 in April, and I have a picture where I was wearing a mask because Mount Redoubt had blown up. And so there was ash falling out of the sky. Well, the story is that there was a school teacher whose wife was pregnant at that time, and she and her other kids were hanging out in Homer, and the teacher was working, and then he'd go over on the weekends. Well, all of a sudden, Readout said, "I'm gonna erupt." And so Mr. Winters got on a Mako's water taxi and made his way over to Homer in time to see Micah Readout Winters born. So if we know anybody who's expecting a baby in the near future, just consider Spur, Spurr, as a possible middle name. Just putting that out there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Laurel. Appreciate that. Hey, while I got you, I do have one question.
Okay.
Has the tribe, well, I looked about a week ago and I hadn't seen it when we were on vacation. Has the tribe published the Fast Ferry schedule yet, or is it getting close?
I do believe that it went live last week. I'm double checking before I promise anything. Um, And so that is loading, loading, loading. And I know that our intent is to have a little preseason weekend run, middle of May, and then we will launch on the Thursday, the 23rd. And it looks like we are live, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
great. Great. Yeah,
And
we've
we
had a
will,
number of people inquiring, so and
right,
they had noticed at that time. So that's good. I figured it was getting close. So
and we will be following our same pattern where it's no Wednesdays, except for the month of July.
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. That's good
Great. Thank you
news.
for asking. Okay.
Good news.
Okay.
Thanks for
Yeah.
the update on that and all your other updates. So
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
all right, sounds good. Liz, anyone else for tonight?
We don't have anyone else, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right, we will move on then to item I, Committee and Advisory Board reports. I see none listed. That's still accurate.
Still correct.
Okay, that'll take us to item J, Administrative reports. First one's the Finance report. That's going to be found in your laydown on page 3. And again, this is the monthly written. So if anyone's got any questions, Heidi, you guys have anything to add or pretty all good from your standpoint?
I would just point out in her notes, because I was also going to point it out in the city manager's report, that the field work for the FY24 audit is complete, and LG Refilled is working on the draft financial statements. So we were told that we could be receiving those by the end of this week for review. And then once that goes back to them to finalize, they could present to you guys hopefully in the month of April.
Fantastic. Good. Good. All right. I'm sure we'll get a little more on that in your update as well. Any questions from anyone on council regarding the monthly written finance report? All right, sounds good. We'll go ahead and move on to the next one. Item J2, Public Works Maintenance Report. It's also the monthly written report. This will be found on page 9 of your packet.
And for this one, Mr. Mayor, I would just like to call out that our Public Works operator, Amanda Miller, just completed her Water Treatment 1 course, and she took her exam today. So we won't get results back for a while, but that's really exciting news. She will be participating in the Water Distribution 1 course at the beginning of April. So we appreciate having her go through those steps.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear. So that will be good. I did note on her ongoing projects too here. I see that guys have made some room for placement of vehicles and equipment in event of an eruption. So that's also good news. Yeah, obviously there's combustion engines don't like ash. So we'll see how that goes if and when if we do have an actual eruption. So. But it looks like you guys are getting prepared on the equipment side of things to deal with that.
Yes, and I would like to point out that the boat haul out trailer is in the shop right now, so it's a little precarious. We know that, and we're keeping an eye out should spur blow, we'll be yanking the trailer quickly and putting equipment in, but the trailer should be done this week so that it can come out and then the equipment can just be stored in there. It's just, we have limited space for projects. So we're aware of the precarious nature of that and keeping an eye. And there is plenty of space in there. They measured it out and checked it out, but it is being used.
Okay, great. Harmony, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I was wondering how, if Spur were to go, how that would affect the water treatment plant and maintenance of the plant. If we're not traveling up and down the hill.
Well, excellent question. I believe we would be potentially still traveling up and down the hill, maybe not in a window period where ash is falling. And we have cameras and remote systems set up so that we can still take readings and monitor the plant remotely, and then be able to, if we need to, drive up there and in the event that that's necessary, or else wait and pause until the ash stops falling and then drive like everybody else is going to be doing. And then we're switching air filters. So it's should be manageable, but it'll definitely depend on the situation.
Perfect. So barring drastic incidents, you guys are going to be operating at status quo, sounds like.
That's the plan.
Love it. You're awesome.
Hey, I got a follow-up. Harmony just kind of prompted me for a follow-up on there. Obviously, if there were to be a significant, and I don't know if maybe Radzy's looked into it, if there were to be a significant amount of ash on our water source that managed to make its way down into the intake and down into the plant, do we have any idea, and maybe we don't, if that would just foul up our filters that much quicker, or any idea? What have you guys talked about that at all? Just out of curiosity.
I haven't talked about it a lot, but a little bit. Yes, in the event that ash gets into the reservoir, then it will certainly clog the filters more quickly, and we'll have to backwash more frequently.
Okay.
I don't expect there to be any problems with it. Either most likely the coagulant will cause the ash to clump and be filtered fine. If it does not, then we'll see the results in the instrumentation up at the water treatment plant, and we can handle it.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So we'll hopefully worst case a little more frequent on the backwash then. So okay, no, that's
my expectation. Yes.
okay. That's good news. That's good news. Thanks for that, Radzi. And just looking at your report here too, looks like our average daily consumption 42,370. Looks like that's tracking pretty close to normal. No, all seems well right now.
That is pretty close to normal. It has gone back up to normal. As you probably remember from a couple of months ago, it was down below normal usage a couple of months ago, but yeah, in the normal range.
Okay. And then one last question for you, real quick. On your report where you've got efficiency listed at 75.7%, how do you get to that number? Is that something out of instrumentation, or is that a mathematical formulation? What is that exactly?
It's distribution total divided by raw water total. That's
Okay.
very simple.
Gotcha. Okay. No, perfect. That sounds good. Okay. Water in, water out.
Yep.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Anyone have any questions for the Public Works report tonight? Okay. Thanks everyone for that one. All right. That'll take us down to item K, public hearings, none. Let's see. Item L, unfinished business, none. Item M, new business. Item M1, council discussion regarding the scheduling of the Board of Adjustment hearing. And we'll go ahead and let City Clerk Diamond take that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on page 11 of your packet, you'll see a memorandum regarding scheduling for the appeal hearing to the Board of Adjustment. And this discussion is solely about the scheduling. You'll see on the following pages the email of the appeal, which was CC to all of you, so it is included in the packet. But right now, the appellants have requested to delay beyond that 60-day end date in order that they can be here in person. So their request, you'll see in that memo, is the week of Monday, May 19th through Friday of May 24th. And so I just wanted to bring that to the council for discussion and scheduling. I would, as far as staff goes, our attorney will be available, but has requested not to have it be the Monday or the very beginning of the week. So if my suggestion would be to do it on Wednesday, if that was agreeable, but I'll leave it up to the council. That would be Wednesday, May 21st.
Day, May 21. All right. Thank you for the update on that. All right. We'll go ahead and open it up for council discussion. And just a reminder, this is purely on the scheduling the date only, no other discussion in regards to the actual matter itself.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, if you could correct me, does the date have to be within that time frame from the 19th to the 24th? Or can we go beyond that? I'm not sure what date I'm returning. Probably that week sometime, but I'm not sure. Does it have to be done before the 24th of May?
That was the request of the appellant. By our code, it's supposed to be done within 60 days, which would be that May 12th. They've asked to extend it and asked for that week. It is up to council if you'd like to go beyond that. I will note that the week after that is Memorial Day weekend. We'll start to be getting into the season there.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay, and then if I'm not back by then, can I participate via Zoom, or is that not? I mean,
so you can participate by Zoom.
Okay, so yeah, whatever the rest of the council feels they would want to go with, but I would go with later in the week as opposed to earlier in the week, if it has to be that week. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. And I think we thought of Wednesday because that actual weekend, the following Monday, is Memorial Day. And we were figuring by Thursday night, probably some people will probably start already bugging out for the weekend. So,
yeah, Thursday would be a possibility too, but I think.
Okay.
And if I may ask again, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
yeah, what is the length? Do we figure this is over several days, or is it in one meeting, or do we know that to project that as far as time frame goes?
The typical ones that our attorney has advised have run about a couple of hours, 2, 3 hours, but then there is deliberations afterwards, so I can't really
Okay.
speak to how long those might take.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and do we have if that's a good point you brought up there. So then time of day also, what are we, so we've got, if we were to go on Wednesday, any idea on start time? I mean, a normal 6 o'clock might be pushing it even if we moved it up an hour or something, if we end up going late into the evening or something. Is that a possibility, or had you guys thought about that yet, Heidi or Liz?
And speaking with our attorney, it is possible to come back to that discussion the next day if the group's not ready to meet. So there are options to meet that, but we have not discussed a time. That would be
Okay.
up to you guys.
Okay, sounds good. Anybody else have any thoughts, comments on the Wednesday timeframe, or anything else, any other dates, times regarding this?
Mayor Campbell,
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Wednesday'd be better for me than Thursday that week.
Okay.
Sounds like Thursday might be the first boat trip for the ferry.
Mayor Campbell,
Yep, go ahead, Ashley.
as of right now, Wednesday or Thursday are good. We could always end up having guests that early, but as of right now, I don't have anybody on the schedule until that Friday. So, and I won't know until then if I'll be in person or Zoom.
Okay. Sounds good. Harmony,
Wednesday.
Wednesday's good for you? Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with Wednesday myself too. I don't have a problem with that. We can sneak that in. Okay. Let's see. I think Jack, you're good. Or Meg, go ahead, Meg.
Yeah, Wednesday's fine.
Wednesday's fine.
Hey,
Okay.
Wednesday works for me, just fine.
Okay. Yeah, let's if that works for everyone, then let's go ahead and plan on that Wednesday. And Heidi, do you want this in the form of a motion, or what would you guys like? Is the discussion fine, or you want a motion?
We'll just do it by consensus.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So no objections, or let me just ask any for the record, any objections to holding the hearing date on Wednesday, May 21st?
Mayor Campbell, I just have one question.
Yep, go ahead, John.
In lieu of that running over, could we start earlier maybe? Instead of our normal meeting time, could we start, let's say 3 or something? Just throwing it out there. Because Thursday's not going to work for me if it has to carry over.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure out how that looks for everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you guys chime in. I'll make it work. Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to starting it earlier for sure. If this is gonna, potentially run late into the night. So
Yeah, I'm surely not suggesting that we do that. I'm just trying to make sure we hit all our bases here.
yeah, yep.
Okay.
And if nobody has objection to starting it earlier, I can work with our attorney to come up with a start time that'll work for everybody.
Okay.
Is this
Okay.
an earlier start time for Thursday instead of Wednesday?
For Wednesday,
Okay, okay.
what would be the earliest time that would be available for you?
I wouldn't be able to participate until 5 o'clock on Wednesdays.
That still gives us an hour earlier.
Okay. So does 5 o'clock work for everybody?
Yeah. Any objection to speak up? Okay, looks like, well, then we'll shoot for 5 PM on Wednesday, May 21st, unless there's any other objections or any objections.
Okay, and the next process will be sending out the meeting notice to that and everybody who's to the appellants and all parties involved and everybody who has attended or given testimony. So we'll start that process.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see, I guess that's a discussion item. So, any further discussion from council before we go to public? Okay, we'll go, anyone from the public signed up to, for this item?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and we got a little ahead of ourselves. Bring it back to council. We did discuss holding it on Wednesday, May 21st at 5 PM, and there were no objections to that. So we'll go ahead and move forward with that plan unless we obviously are far enough out here. If there's any monkey wrenches that come up, we'll deal with them after you talk with our attorney.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks everyone. Move on to item M2. This is consideration of projects for the upcoming KBN ERR land acquisition / restoration funding opportunity. And Heidi, we'll go ahead and let you take this one.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is on page 17 of your regular packet. As you might remember, we had 2 visitors at the last council meeting, one from the Kachemak Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve and one from Kachemak Heritage Land Trust, who presented about their organizations and an upcoming opportunity for land acquisition or restoration funding. This is something this is, I think, the 3rd year in this cycle. And they reached out to the city last year. They presented to the council, talked about the program and what types of opportunities it provides. And I just don't think the community-wise we were there yet. Since then, we've had conversations with the EPA department or the environmental department with Seldovia Village Tribe, conversations with NOAA, continued conversations with the KB NER, and just talking about what kind of benefits this opportunity could provide. After they presented to the city council the next day, I had the opportunity to take a field trip with them and drive around and look at different areas that could be impacted by this funding or benefit from this funding. We had discussion about some of the projects that have come up, one being to protect and conserve the head of Jackloff Bay. There's a mental health trust land parcel out there that could potentially meet this requirement and need. There was protecting and conserving the city access and watershed for the municipal water supply. So if you remember, our water treatment plant is surrounded by University of Alaska Anchorage property. Well, the city received a small portion of that parcel when they went to upgrade that plant. And then we have a easement for access through that property to that parcel. So in speaking with them, they said that, that's a really great idea in protecting and preserving that access and that watershed and that area. Especially due to, we know, with potential upcoming budget shortfalls and different economic issues happening, there's always the potential that they could decide to sell. And I guess they've seen them do that in other areas. So that would be something that the city could request as a project and then they would work with, if it was selected, UAA to purchase that parcel on behalf of the city, and then that would become a city piece of property. The other areas we talked about were properties around Susan Lake, properties in the Fish Creek area, and then one that keeps coming up pretty regularly is protecting and conserving Trina Lake and the accompanying herring habitat. And that's about 60, there's 2 parcels, 140 acres, about 40 acres, 120 acres. Amy Rainier Properties Amy Rainier is the property owner. Of course, with any of these, the property owner has to be in support of it and want to work with the agency to go through this process. So it was suggested that if this is something that the city wants to pursue, we could submit both of those projects, or if there's other ones that council wants to submit, and then work through the vetting process to see if any of them would to come to fruition. The other project type that we could submit, so it was suggested submitting the 2 land acquisition projects and then a planning or design project. And we're still working on language about what that would actually look like. But we went from talking about invasive species to just all different kinds of potential projects in Seldovia, including cleaning up the old landfill parcel that the city owns that's near Trina Lake. So going out the road. But really in talking about it, about the city properties, and that the city actually already has a lot of the wetlands in the community. The conversation broadened to perhaps we need to do an assessment of all of the city properties and then a hydrology study and make a determination of, what are the importance of these wetlands? Are they important? What kind of development should be promoted for these wetlands? Are there properties that should be held on to? Are there and conserved? Are there other properties that could be sold and developed, and what kind of impact that would have on the community? So working on the language for that, if that's something that the council wants to support, and then we should see these projects, or we should see the call out for the projects in the next couple of weeks. So upon council approval this evening or in the future, if we need to bring back more information, we can pursue this opportunity if that's something that you guys so desire. There are maps of the parcel around the water treatment plant on page 18, and then of the Trina Lake parcels in blue on page 19. So if you have any questions, please let me know, or if you have any other projects that you'd like us to pursue instead, definitely want to hear what your guys' preference would be if we should move forward with this opportunity. Oh, and I will point out that on page 18, I did make a note on here that the recommended project ideas are in conformance with the 2014 comprehensive plan environmental goals. 1 was maintain local stewardship over vital land and water resources. 2, develop land and water resources for economic benefit while minimizing adverse local impacts. And 3, take advantage of diverse recreational opportunities, as both land acquisition properties are accompanied by local trail access. So one is borders the Otterbond Trail, and then the other Rocky Ridge Trail comes off of it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Appreciate all the information there. All right, I'll go ahead and open it up to council for any comments, thoughts, questions on this opportunity.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I'm glad to see this on our agenda. I guess I'm a little bit confused in some ways of what would the cost be to the city. I think it's a great environmental study. I think it's a great opportunity for the city of Seldovia. And we have those parcels of land that we've gone back and forth with around Susan Lake, the marshland, and the question of whether we should sell it for development or redevelop it. This to me seems like a great opportunity if someone wanted to buy it from the city to put it in holdings to preserve it as is. It seems like a beautiful opportunity to fit with the city of Seldovia's needs and the Ketchmack Bay group. I think this is a great opportunity. I was just a little bit concerned. What I don't want to see is any strain on the city staff and monetary pulling from city. So, but I think it's a great opportunity, and I think the items that have been picked thus far as possibilities are great. But I think it's important that we think about what holdings, what land the city has in town that we should be, if we have the opportunity to put them in perpetuity for the future, and the city just sells them to somebody and they stay in its natural form, that'd be great. I think preserving the watershed is another great one. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's it for now.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian.
Through the mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Excellent questions. So this is a grant opportunity through NOAA. So, and there's no match requirement. So potentially not a lot of expense on the city for this opportunity.
Great, thank you.
So what about your guys' time? If we identify, say we do two land acquisition proposals and then a planning design project, what would you envision your guys' role as staff in that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Another excellent question. So KB NER has been working with the city of Homer for a land acquisition project for 6 properties that are there's call them sponge properties, so wetlands similar to ours. And from my understanding and speaking with the city of Homer and speaking with KB NER, there is some small involvement with staff, of course, but it sounds like the KB NER really does the heavy lifting, as well as they get the Catchmack Land Trust, Catchmack Heritage Land Trust involved. So they do the majority of the heavy lifting for these projects.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's what, our takeaway was from their presentation as well. So when we give them the direction we want to go, that's the whole point of what they do. They come in, put the bulk of the proposal together in that, and then look for our buy-in, and away we go. So.
Correct. My understanding is that for the initial proposal that we just have to provide like a paragraph for each project. And they don't anticipate picking both land acquisition projects. It would be one or the other. And then potentially the planning project as well. And then they help you write that proposal and then take you through those steps through that program to whatever outcome you reach. So it sounds like they're pretty hands-on.
Okay, awesome. That sounds good.
Mayor Campbell,
Yeah, go ahead, John.
to the manager, so in this process of identifying, we would have a public comment period, I'm sure? Or would it be something that just the council would decide, or as to which parcels we'd want to?
Well, we have to apply. So we need a decision or a consensus of which projects to put forward. And then it's a process from there because the
Okay.
property owners have to be on board with
There wouldn't
it.
be a public comment period for that first decision?
I'm not sure where the public comment period
Okay.
comes in, but I can double check. I'm believe that's probably part of the process. But certainly I think more than that, it's making sure that both parties involved are in support of this funding opportunity.
Any additional comments, thoughts, questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity. And I think, John, maybe the public comment part that you're talking about would kind of be tonight, as far as we're talking about what we want them to put forth. And it was on our agenda tonight. And then obviously if it comes up later, then there's that public comment on there. But I think I think either of those land acquisitions would be great. And I like the idea of also being able to have a grant to move through the studies of the land that we already have and making sure that we're taking care of it and making those right decisions and steps with it as well. So, yeah, I think you've got my open support on any of the opportunities.
Do you have any thoughts, Ashley, on like preference? I mean, just because that's kind of the crux here. We've got a lot of options here, but have you given any thought to the UAA land and the Trina Lake one, or both of those, or any of the other ones?
I like the UAA land Actually, yeah, either of those, especially after what Heidi brought up about those being, right at the head of our two main trails here. People come over and they're always wanting to know where to hike. Those are kind of the only two that, locals use on a regular basis and tourists come and use, and to make sure that we preserve those areas and those access, I think is really important for us. So I don't have a preference one over the other.
Gotcha. Harmony?
Yeah, I would agree that being able to preserve those public access areas seems like the obvious choice. I don't know. We, as far as public comment goes, obviously we don't do anything without public comment. And as I understand it, this is a partnership between the city, K-Beaner, and property owner. Depending on how we decide which direction we decide to go, we really don't have to put much funds forward, correct?
Through the mayor, yes, that's correct. That's my understanding, but I'm sure, this is the beginning of the process. So if you guys want to pursue these 3 projects, we can put them forward when the submission comes out, or the call for projects comes out. And then I'm sure we'll continue working with them just like we do for any other grant through the process, and provide frequent updates to council as that goes. So.
Heidi, do we even have the remote idea if, I know it's early on, but I mean, have you guys made any kind of attempt at communications or cold calls to anyone to see if they're even remotely, either party is even remotely interested in possibly entertaining a sale?
Not at this time. So my understanding from speaking with K-Beaner individuals is that the University of Alaska has been amenable to sales in the past, and then that is something that they do from time to time with their properties. And then the Trina Lake property owners actually have worked with the Homer, with the Kachemak Heritage Land Trust in the past, and have a different conservation easements on properties in the area. So potentially, if they weren't interested in a sale, it could be a conservation easement, but they're familiar with the program and have participated in the program previously.
Okay. All right. No, that's good background. So, okay. Sounds good. Yeah. I like the idea of both of those. Both of those as target opportunities. I think they make sense. And then the planning, again, the planning project to look at our all of our wetland areas to see what makes sense there. I agree with that concept. That seems like a reasonable planning project for sure. Harmony, you got another comment, question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, in a project like this, is there a conservation tax write-off that we could use as an incentive in this partnership or in the selling of those types of lots? Is that something that, we could put towards our brownie points? What are those tax credits called when you have green credits?
Excellent question. I am not sure, but I can ask about that and bring that back.
Okay, anyone else on council with any thoughts, comments on this? Okay, we can go to anyone from the public. Liz, at all signed up or wish to speak on this item?
Hey there, this is Jenny. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear, Jenny.
Awesome. I just I guess I was asking for a little clarification on the three things we talked about. One was an assessment of the property. The second was just whether it's to preserve and conserve and protect, and then third being develop. And I guess what my question is what is the city's target in this endeavor? That's my first question.
Through the mayor, would you like me to take this?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Heidi.
Yes, so it's two different funding sources, or well, same funding source, but two different projects. One is land acquisition, and that would be the potentially two submissions, for one for Trina Lake area, one for the UAA property. And those are purely for conservation and preservation. So there's a deed that goes with it. It says you're going to preserve these in perpetuity, and it's to protect, for instance, the herring fishery for Trina Lake, and then the watershed for UAA property. And then the other project, the planning and design project, would be the one where they would assess all of the city properties, and we have quite a bit of wetlands in the area, and then and do some hydrology studies, and upon that be able to make a determination or recommendation. For instance, we've heard from like the engineering firm HDR, who did our stormwater management plan, that wetlands are great for filtration if we wanted to have our stormwater runoff and go into our wetlands, or snow storage, or there's different things that they can be utilized as a natural filter. Plus, I think we're learning more as we grow up as a country that green space is important, and that there are times and areas where that's valuable. So having the assessment could give the city a really good idea of exactly what that ecology looks like of those areas, and how pertinent it is to hold on some of them or to not, because that's been the back and forth discussion, right? And we even have it in our land use management plan to potentially dispose of those properties so that they can be developed. However, we also have in there that we need to assess what properties should be retained. And this study would go a long ways towards that assessment of saying, hey, these properties really do serve a great purpose. You should retain these in perpetuity. Or, hey, you know what? This is a pretty small area. There's other areas near here that do a better job. If you want to go ahead and release these properties and develop them, it's going to have a lesser impact than maybe some of the other areas. So I think that would be the goal of the study, is just to get a really great idea of what these properties are doing for the area, and then helping council from there make a determination on if there are areas that they do want to dispose of, or if there are areas that they want to preserve.
Thank you. So are you thinking that you would do one or the other, or could you do both?
Through the mayor. So potentially we could have one planning project and one land acquisition project. So, and then by submitting both land acquisition projects, it gives a little bit of flexibility, because one or the other owner or both may not want to work through that process. But it puts it out there that there is an interest in it. And then one project would be selected for that, potentially if they were both interested, or depending on who's interested. And then the planning project as for that separate pot. So potentially two projects moving forward.
And did you say that the Spillum area off of Anderson is one that you're considering? The Spillum and Malcolm Street?
That's an excellent question. So the Spillum Malcolm Street area is also in the land use management. Oh, sorry. It's in the capital improvement plan as a potential area to develop. The city does have properties that butt up on that Malcolm Spillum Street. I guess it'd be Spillum that we butt up on. So they would be a part of that assessment to see what that looks like for potentially disposing or retaining those properties. And that would encompass that wetland area as an assessment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, looks like we have Laurel as well.
What's that, Liz? Oh, Laurel Hills. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just as I'm listening and I'm thinking about some of the area that exists already inside of the city limits that might benefit from this relationship with the folks in Homer. I know that there was some fundraising that took place for the gazebo area of Susan Lake, or as it's called, Lake Susan, depending on who you are and where you grew up and how long you were here. But one of the things that my observation has been with 50 years of residence in that swamp area is the massive growth of the alders, and to where it basically is encroached on half of what was the wetlands. So if you think about where John McInnes's house is, it used to be that from his house straight out to the lake was just the swamp wetlands only. And now basically from Bobby's house, which is the next house over straight out, is all alders, and in even taking over that gazebo area quite a bit. And so I guess my question or the thing to I would ask the council to consider is, and I don't know, but if you purchase lands outside of the city limits, is that extending the boundary of the city limits, or it's just the city saying, hey, we just want to capture these pieces of land for this purpose? Or is it better suited for what already exists inside of the city limits and maybe is what you already own? So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Laurel. Heidi, you want to take that one too?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So Susan Lake was looked at, or Lake Susan, and it is in the CIP, as well as will be in part of a upcoming discussion on potential capital projects for the FY26 budget. So that's definitely something that's been discussed by council, Mayor Campbell included as a priority, and we'll be continue to look at that. As for in city limits versus out of city limits, no. Purchasing properties outside of limits is not going to expand the city's boundary. We already have parcels outside of city limits, including that water treatment plant parcel. Sorry. Yes, the water treatment plant parcel and the outside beach parcel and RV park, both that abut the parcels that we're talking about. So it would just be creating a larger watershed area near our water treatment plant and better access, and making sure that we retain that, especially since that's done through an easement right now, as well as that beginning of the Rocky Ridge Trail is through an easement and permit process, easement through UAA, and then a permit through DNR, and then that goes on up to our reservoir. So just ensuring that parcel is protected moving forward. And then with Trina Lake, again, like I said, it butts up with Outside Beach and is in between Otterbon and Outside Beach. So again, just preserving that area and hopefully promoting and protecting the herring fishery, as well as a public access in a safe and responsible manner.
Thank you, Heidi. Harmony, you had another question?
No, I had a toddler pressing buttons. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and just to follow up to Laurel's comments, yeah, I would love nothing more than to get a group of volunteers with chainsaws and loppers and everything else and just go to town on all of that overgrown alder area, and even have a few lily pads gone away as well as part of that. But obviously we want to do things right, and not just go in there and start ripping and tearing. But yeah, grossly overgrown for the last 30 years, and it needs some alder eradication in there. So it'd be nice to see some sunshine in that entire area clean back up. But okay, so anyone else, Liz, while we're still on the public?
That's everybody, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council then. Yeah, it looks like, so this is the first step in the process. Need to, a couple things have been laid out. If we agree to move forward with recommending the two land acquisition projects, if council's fine with these two, we could go that route. Definitely like the overall planning project to look at all of our wetlands. I think that makes sense for a community like ours where we've got, especially like that Malcolm and Spillum area, right? That's a mess. I can't even imagine how you'd build a road in that, through any of that to connect back. It's super, super swampy in there and probably not be smart of us to do that. But yeah, it seems to be one of the only ways in there to some of those lots, short of a pretty steep slope coming down from by Opines there to get into the backside of all that. So yeah, I think it makes sense to have that planning project, take a look at everything, get some outside view on that, what that looks like, and at least, another piece for us of something to consider, in our overall as part of our land use management plan. So up to you guys though, whatever you think we want to move forward with.
Mayor Campbell.
Yep, go ahead, John.
I wouldn't be opposed to the assessment portion of it to find out where we're at with the parcels in the city, or, what the opinion is. And then some of those additional parcels outside the city, I don't have an issue with those either.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Javine.
Yeah, I'm totally in favor of the outside beach properties out that way, and then up by the water treatment plant. I think those two are great possibilities. And then having the information about all of the city's property. I think those are three great programs. And I guess I have one question. If Heidi, the ones that we select, is there a way that the organization can say that we'd have better chance of getting funding or for one item as opposed to a different one? Is that something of a conversation to have before we pick and choose what we think we'd like?
Excellent question through the mayor. So we kind of had those conversations when we did the field trip and we looked at the city properties and we talked about what was happening around the area. And as well as we've had those conversations, like I said, with NOAA and with Seldovia Village Tribe's environmental department, looking at what potential potential issues there are or benefits there could be. And then so it's a submission is the first step is just putting in that you're interested in pursuing this funding opportunity for these projects. And then from there, they select them and then they'll help us do the full proposal. So there will be vetting process between the interest, putting in the paragraph of interest versus the full proposal.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, again, what we've discussed, I'm in full support of. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Yeah, and with this being the first part of the process of just basically, making our wishes known that we want to apply for this funding. Obviously, first part of the vetting process will be to, I assume would it be us reaching out to these owners, or would it be the NER and the Heritage Land Trust reaching out to find out if they're remotely interested in selling, Heidi?
It's my understanding that would be the NER and the Heritage Trust that would reach out.
Okay. And then obviously if they got a no-go on both of them, or yes, both of them are interested, and then obviously conversations would follow from there.
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, no, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I like the idea of these two projects along with the planning project. I'm kind of hearing the same thing from everyone on council. Is there any objection from anyone on council with moving these the two acquisition properties forward in terms of providing that information for the proposal, and then also requesting that the planning project for our wetlands move forward also? Okay. Hearing none on that. Yeah. Heidi, again, would you like that in the form of a motion or just a consensus on this, or?
Mr. Mayor, that can just be a consensus.
Okay. Sounds good. Then if you're good with that, we'll move those forward, see what they come up with. I'll be curious to see what how those discussions go with the landowners. But yeah, it'd be neat. I know I've thought a lot. Outside Beach is kind of our crown jewel for the community. And I know right now we kind of, if I remember correctly, it's not a formal easement on that, right? It's or it's not a platted easement, is it?
Through the
For-
mayor, yeah. Yes, so we do have a platted access easement through Posh Community Drive.
Right. Oh, that is platted. Okay. For some reason I was on my mind that it was not platted. So, okay.
I'll double check. I'm pretty sure it is, but it is. Yep, Bradsy has it up right there. It is platted.
Okay. Okay. No, sounds good though. Either way though, yeah, that would be amazing if, that was, we knew that was there for the long haul and there wasn't going to be a big, bunch of development in there. So, all right. No, sounds good. We'll move forward and look forward to the next steps on that. All right, that'll move us along. Let's see, down to item M3, Resolution 25-36, resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, approving a memorandum of understanding between the Seldovia Chamber of Commerce and the City of Seldovia for use of office space and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute the appropriate documents. And this will be found on page 36 of your packet. And we'll go ahead and let the manager take this one.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this would be done similar to how we have our MOU through with SOS. So, and we do it in kind, no cost, no cash exchanged for their office space and the storage or the mortgage for their skiff in lieu of our membership into SOS and some of the benefits that we receive from the organization. In discussion with the Seldovia Chamber of Commerce about a recent grant proposal that was written in partnership with them. If you guys remember that community change grant, it was a pretty big grant. That I need to follow up and see if that will go anywhere with the recent changes in administration. I don't believe so. I believe that department, group that was overseeing that part of the EPA was dissolved, but I'll double check on that. So don't take my word for it. Still, in that discussion that was had, it was mentioned that it would be really nice if the Seldovia Chamber of Commerce had a space and had an office, and so that we were looked into including that in the upgrades to the value-added building. And when I was speaking with our finance officer about it, she said, "Well, we have empty space in the Seldovia space. Why don't they use that for the meantime?" So we opened up that discussion with the chamber and talked about them being able to utilize that space also in kind, no cash exchanged for the city's membership with the chamber and advertising. And then they have use of the space, have use of the common areas and the kitchen, as well as still they have always had use of the council chambers when it's not being utilized by other people. And then they have a Connex that's in the boatyard that we don't charge for. So that would continue with that. If you look on page 38, you can really see those terms laid out. So in lieu of, on number 3, in lieu of annual financial contribution, the city of Seldovia agrees to provide the following. You'll see that office space, and that does include heat, electric, and internet, which is the same thing we offer other people who utilize that space. Like I mentioned, the storage of the chamber connex, use of the multipurpose room and Seldovia space common area. And then as well as use of the Seldovia space common area to advertise and promote the Seldovia Chamber of Commerce. So we're talking about potentially having a bulletin board area or a rack card area, and then some shelving or some kind of display for some of their businesses to be able to put different items out there and have a place for people to be able to come and see it. And then they would have access to the Seldovia Space kitchen and restroom facilities. And then the chamber, their thereby provides to the city of Seldovia 2 walking map listings in addition to the full city section, which includes the police station, fire hall, EMS, and harbor master. So those 2 additional listings are the city office and outside beach. And then 1 vote at the membership meetings, prominent listing on the chamber website, radio advertisements, and they're beautiful You Are Here new full color maps. This is something that we typically pay for as a member of the Chamber of Commerce. And instead, we would just do these exchanges in kind, like I said, with no financial contribution. And if the city council agrees, this would be for a term of 3 years. So looking at expiring in 2028, and then we can look at if we want to renew from there on. There's also, I believe, a provision that if either of us would like to amend or terminate, we can do that with or without cause with a 60-day notice. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you, Heidi. Yeah, I read through this and I like this concept. I think it shows a excellent collaboration between the 2 organizations, and I'm definitely in support of it. So yeah, it's great to see something like this, actually just getting it in writing, and yeah, then we have clear and concise. So open it up to council for other comments, thoughts on resolution 25-36.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, just right before that, I forgot to say that we do have members of the Chamber of Commerce in the audience. If you guys have any questions, we have Chamber President Akola Collier here and the Secretary Jenny Chissis.
Great, thank you.
Mayor Campbell.
Yep, go ahead, John.
Hey, I'm in favor of this, and I appreciate seeing the commitment between the 2 organizations and the willingness to work together, and I'm anxious to see what happens over there.
Great, appreciate that. Anyone else from council?
I'll chime in as well as also a board member from the chamber. One of the things this brings about is creating a space that has potential to actually be available for the public if and when we can have somebody in there to staff it, which is not something that we've had for the chamber in the past. So that would be huge going forward to not just have a place for storage, but during the busy season, even if it's a couple days a week for a couple hours, that a sandwich board is outside that says chamber is open. I mean, we all know when you go to Homer, I know that when I moved here, that was the first place that I went. We came over the hill and we went to the Chamber of Commerce and they handed us a walking map for Seldovia. That was like our first experience. So it can really do a lot for the businesses in the town in general. So I'd be interested, because between John and I, we're both on the chamber board and are very well versed in what this is looking like, and want to hear from our constituents on council here with the city what your thoughts are.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. That's great. That you bring up a good point too. I mean, I grew up in Seward, and Seward's always had a super active chamber. It's right on the way into town, and tons of cars there. I mean, I used to know all the gals there before they retired years ago when we lived there, and it'd just be a great, friendly place to go in, have good conversations, and it's amazing the amount of people that would go in there and just all the crazy conversations, right? Not just about what businesses there are. It goes right down to people wanting to move here and what do you have, what's to offer, all that. Just for us to have a face and a place, and hopefully at some point, enough volunteers or people to maybe sit there for a couple hours, a day or something, or a few times a week, would be incredible for a small town like ours to have that opportunity and be able to interact with the public. So I think this is great proposal, great good collaboration and partnership. So,
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I believe it is a good partnership. And I guess I just got my question answered, and that was, it's really just renting a space to store stuff. At this point, there's not going to be anybody in there from chamber that people can go in and see and discuss and get the maps from. Can I get clarification on that?
Yeah, so our goal is that there will be somebody there. We just aren't jumping the gun in the fact of most of us right now that are members of the chamber on the board, we're active in our businesses in the summer and we're busy. But we've got a lot of ideas on how to make it so there'll be somebody there. And it would start this year with at least being really flexible, wouldn't be set hours, but that's where the sandwich board idea came in, that anytime somebody is in that space, that they can throw that sandwich board out. And it becomes also another member benefit, because if you're a member of the chamber and you need to have a space to go and get on the internet and do some work or something like that, we're going to have that office available. The caveat is, if you're going to be in there, you're going to put the open sign out and be available to answer questions and talk to people when they walk in. So these are some of those things that we're just throwing out there, nothing set in stone, trying to be creative. Another idea was that if somebody has, something that they want to share with the community, let's say Kendra and Travis want to talk about how they roast coffee, is they could say, okay, we're going to do a little coffee seminar and open up. Marcia said, oh, I could bring beads and do like a beading class for kids and then have it opened up. So we're open to any ideas, any way that makes it make sense, just to have the doors open. And we know that there's those peak times that make sense, which helps us, which are, when that ferry is here and the Discovery and everything in the afternoon. So that would be our goal.
Right. Well, that's good to hear, to have a face on the chamber and people to discuss things with. So the benefit to the city is that instead of having to pay to be on the walking map, we are given that space and the voting of the membership and then radio advertisements. So those are the benefits of the city, that we're not having to pay for stuff, that the chamber is picking it up in lieu of paying rent. Is that correct?
That is correct. And in those big walking map posters as well, we just reprinted new ones. And so they're getting 6 of those. Those are usually $50 a piece. And then in there, we will at any point, if we update them, replace them, or if they get damaged, we'll replace them at no charge as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian, and thanks for clarifying, Ashley. All right, last chance. Anyone on council before we go to public? Okay, we'll go ahead and go to public. Anyone wish to comment on resolution 25-36?
Hi, this is E. Cola. We are excited to partner with you guys, and we hope that this is a beautiful step forward in our relationship, but in the chamber's presence in the community and giving us a place to work out of and be open to the public when we're able to. It's something that sounds like the chamber has been hoping to find a resolution for some time, and it just worked out really nicely. Heidi coming up with this idea and bringing it to us. So I just appreciate your guys' time and consideration.
Thank
This
you,
is-
Nicola.
This is Jenny, and I mimic what she says there, but I'm also just really excited. This is actually the chamber's 90th year, and I guess it's about time to have an office. What do we think? So it gives us a little, what do you call it? Street cred. But I really think that there's a lot of people that would benefit from having this space. And we've talked about different alternatives to having even brochures or things like that outside the space on times when we're not available in a nice way, nothing shabby, but classy and just a good representation of Seldovia. So we really appreciate and thank you for your consideration of this effort, and we are looking forward to this partnership. So thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Appreciate that. Liz, anyone else on online?
No, Mr. Mayor. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have Laurel.
All right, I just saw the hand go up.
Hey, I do have to take advantage of this. Ecola let me know I was wrong about the website, but the Seldovia Village Tribe and Seldovia Bay Ferry is chamber members, so I'm going to use this to tell you. So I have a message into our manager on that to get that updated, and they were out sick. So our plan is to post into the chatterbox when the website goes live. So we'll make sure you see that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Laurel. Appreciate that
Thank you.
update. All right. So if no one else from the public, we'll bring it back to council. What are your wishes with resolution 25-36?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 25-36.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second that, Mayor Campbell.
Okay, looks like we have a motion from Rojas to go ahead and approve resolution 25-36 with a second by Kennedy. Any further discussion on resolution 25-36 before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and vote on the approval of resolution 25-36. All those in favor, Keith Lee,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
and Peyton.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 6 in the affirmative and 0 opposed. That was resolution 25-36. Congratulations to the city and the chamber. Be glad to see that moving forward, and look forward to everything that the chamber will be able to do. And that's exciting. So pretty neat. All right, we've got item M4. This is the resolution 25-37, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, opposing the closure of the Susan B. English School swimming pool. This will be in your laydown, and this is sponsored by Kennedy and Peyton.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll speak to it real quickly if you don't mind.
Sure.
So Councilmember Kennedy brought this forward and asked if it would be beneficial for the city of Seldovia to take a stance in opposition of this closure. I did happen to speak with Kevin Lyons, the facilities manager, today, and he let me know that there is a finance meeting tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. where they will be discussing this topic. So very pertinent for anybody who has any letters or public comment to get that in before that meeting. And then the actual Board of Education meeting will be on April 7th, Monday, April 7th. So this came about in discussion during one of their previous board meetings. There was discussion about shaving off 10 days from all of the facilities use in the district, so theaters and pools. And during that discussion, it doesn't quite meet the need of the district. So then the counter would be to also increase PTR. And I guess during that discussion, it was brought up that, well, why don't we just close Nanilchik's and Seldovia's pools, as our pools are the ones that don't have as strong of a revenue stream or support as some of the others. And speaking with him, I think there's a lot of opportunities and different ways that this could be done. Through the district to continue funding, or the borough. There's been discussion about the borough stepping up and helping fund some of it, or if the community needs to take this responsibility on. He was open to those discussions and working through that with the community, whoever takes the lead, if that's the SURSA, if the city needs to be involved, wherever that goes. But overall, the purpose of the resolution tonight is just to put that voice out there, that the the city of Seldovia, the city council of the city of Seldovia is in opposition to this closure. You'll see that last whereas that if the Kenai Peninsula Borough School District continues to seek closure of this vital community resource, the city council requests an open dialogue with the Seldovia community stakeholders regarding alternative methods to help support the continued availability of this resource. So putting it out there in writing, hopefully, if it's passed, we'll get the mayor's signature first thing tonight or tomorrow morning and get this over to them. I also wanted to include a letter to them after speaking with Kevin about how the that how my words are not coming well tonight. Not necessarily that it's unfair, but how choosing two pools out of 7 without better vetting and without looking at the overall image and picture of the district and how all of these systems can support each other is done in haste, and that really there should be broader discussion before making these choices on how that burden can be shared across these facilities, and potentially that if the city is or the CIRSA or whoever is putting some finance back into this resource, which ultimately could make sense. I mean, if you look at any other districts in the state, they all have community resources going in to support their pools. Juneau is run by Parks and Rec. Anchorage is run by their Parks and Rec and one club. I mean, there is a precedence for this, for communities to help step up and provide. Being able to have that conversation on a broader scale versus just 2 communities, and also including the borough in that discussion of really how they can help support as the local jurisdiction overseeing these areas. So if that works for council, I'll include a letter with thoughts to that sentiment as well as this resolution, if it's approved with tonight's discussion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as I said, this is sponsored by Councilmember Kennedy and Councilmember Payton if they have anything to add.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, John or Harmony, you guys, anything else you guys would like to add?
Mayor Campbell.
Yep, go ahead.
I'd had this conversation with Heidi over several months that, the situation of our school and, the pool, I just spent a week with my grandchildren on vacation and I realized how good they can swim, and so it has been a big benefit for our family. And I think back of all the years, I grew up with a pool in the family and learned to swim. And I think in a community where we're completely surrounded by water, it's pretty important. Also, we also don't have the same resources that the communities do that are on the mainland. They don't have the same opportunities. So I would be in favor of having a discussion with the school board and maybe the borough and look for alternative ways of supporting this, regardless of whether the school board can afford to keep it open. I'd still like to see some type of dialogue so that it doesn't end for the community.
Yeah, thank you, John. Appreciate those thoughts. Harmony, anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah. I learned how to swim in this pool. My neighbors, Vivian Rojas and Amelia, or not Amelia, Isla Dillon taught me how to swim in the late 90s along with my siblings. And those lessons saved not only my life, but my brother, who was a professional fisherman, commercial fisherman. Beyond that, as a mother of 4, as a person who works in the community with the young children, for 12 years running this pool, the difference between when it's open and when it's not is tangible for the children. The quickness in which they become comfortable in the water. It's a difference between a half an hour twice a week for a month where you're seeing their competency level soar. And, that just speaks to how important it is for those kids to have that exposure. As has already been mentioned, we are a community that is off the road system. We do not have the opportunity to just get in a car and go spend a weekend at somebody else's school pool. I think that our community has shown in conversations past that we have ample opportunity here to come up with really creative ways to support our pool as a community. It does sound like that the district is at this time willing to take those steps with us. And I think that going forward, we should really pursue the ownership over our pool, because it can't be stated enough how important it is, not only for the young folks, but for our adults, our senior citizens, for our people who are handy capable. It's a feather in our cap. When I was growing up, it was available in the summer. And as a lower income individual, that pool was the only pool I had access to for most of my youth. Being able to come here and have that exposure and that time was so important to me then, and it is important to my children now. And I think that going forward, I know that not only myself, but my fellow community members are going to be ready to put them up.
Thank you, Harmony. I appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, well, thank you, council members Kennedy and Payton. I've been involved with the pool since the 80s, and this idea of shutting down the pool has come in the 90s. We had a big fight over it, and we won. And I think letting the district know how important the pool is, which we all know how valuable it is to all of us and to our children, letting them know that we're willing to do what needs to be done to keep the pool open, and to choose the Nilchik and Seldovia just because we don't have the population base as Homer does and Soldotna and Kenai to support our pool doesn't mean that they should be able to take our pool away. I think there's really a creative ideas, which have been said earlier, to have that conversation with Kevin Lyons. And that is, how could the SURSA board help support it? Anyhow, thank you for bringing this forward. And again, we can't be pushed aside. We have just as much right as anybody else to have a pool in our community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Appreciate that. Anyone else, thoughts or comments on resolution 25-37?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, thank you for bringing this up. Also, just a reminder, if you haven't written letters, write them and send them out now too. I know I did all blind to the board already, but I've got the others that I'll make sure get out tonight. As I was drafting my letter, one thing that came across is really identifying all of us have a lot of different roles in the community, and really thinking about and separating in those letters how those roles see the pool differently. That was something that really came together, because I tried not to have like this giant blob. And so I looked at each piece, like, what does that look like as someone starting a family in this community and being a full-time resident? How does that affect me? How does it affect me as a council member? How does it affect me as a substitute teacher in the school from the way I see it? How does it affect me as a lifeguard? So like, put yourself, we all have all these hats, and the way that you see the pool and its importance is seen through a different lens. And I think that that's a way that, compared to some of the other communities, sets us apart, even though they may see it as a smaller usage. We're a smaller group, but we get a lot more out of it. And I like how Mike Druce put it, is making it personal and really letting them know that the school, anytime you take something from the school is the center of our community. So you're taking pieces of that center of the community. And I think for me, when I looked at it and I started to brainstorm this out, I went to the chamber and said, we need to write a letter as well, because I got a point in there where I was writing as a business owner in the community and how it affects us on an economic level. And just those trickle effects of when you do things like take away the pool and you've got people looking to move here and they look at, why do I want to move here? And I know that was one of the things for me. I tell everybody, I was like, there's a school there that has a pool. And now you're taking one of those things away. And that is a trickle effect all the way down to our tax base and our economy. So just other things to think about.
Thank you, Ashley. Yeah, that's a super good perspective on points of view and how to portray that to the school board and the importance of all the different sectors weighing in. So yeah, I think one thing that, like, Heidi nailed it too. I mean, in terms of equity, yeah, it's certainly not equitable what the school board's proposing. I think unfortunately this is probably happening all over the country and certainly within the state. Our school boards, our district's not the only one hurting for funding. I think it's easy for those board members to, look to see where they can cut and get the path of least resistance. And obviously the number one choice would be you just whack the small communities because they're small and it's going to be a smaller impact. Well, I agree. It's a larger impact to the smaller communities. At 100% is a larger impact to us, to a smaller community. It limits opportunity for our residents, for new residents, for our growth. Yeah, it chops us off at the knees is what it does. So yeah, I'm absolutely in favor of this resolution. And as I hope everyone on council is. So anyone else, thoughts or comments on resolution 25-37 before we go to the public?
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
I think we're all on the same page. It's one of the calling cards that maybe future families would come here is because we have a school with a pool, and not to mention teaching kids to swim around the water. But is there any way we could get a cost analysis? Because if we lose it, it's going to be a lot harder to get it back, and figure out what we're really dealing with monetarily, to see what kind of a moving forward, to see how we could fund it to keep it open.
Yeah, I had asked that question too last time, and I know Heidi, you probably got a little more information, or maybe not. I know there was that 90 plus some $1,000 number that was thrown out there, but I talked to Jen a little bit too, and I still didn't come away with a real warm fuzzy about what that entirely meant. I have a hard time believing it's only $90,000, but maybe you can elaborate on that.
Through the mayor, yes, I would be happy to. So in speaking with Kevin today, that was my big question, is really, what does this cost? He said that the pool expenses are net neutral except for the cost of the pool manager and the utilities. So everything else, the chemicals and the lifeguards, all the pool use pays for those. But in addition to the chemicals and the lifeguards, the pool manager and the utilities are outside of that net neutral fund. So those just go into a separate 716 or whatever the fund is called, and they all wash out. The cost to potentially to the community, if this conversation that moves forward, would be that 95,000 for the pool manager. That's a benefited 11-month position. And then he was estimating about 35,000 for utilities. That's a little bit of a harder figure because the boiler and all the systems run on, they're not metered, it's ran on one system. But he had extrapolated some figures, and that was his best estimate at the time was about 35,000. He also suggested that if that was something that the community was going to take on, that it shouldn't fully or solely fall on the community, and that further discussion should be on how that responsibility could be shared, potentially with the district or the borough. So a lot of discussion to be had in the future, but from the facilities manager, he's saying it's at 95 plus 35.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. So 100, roughly 130,000 is what we're talking at the moment here. So yeah, and I think that's where that last whereas is critical, right? I mean, if it's going to go this way, and not that we're approving or endorsing that in any way, shape, or form, but yeah, we want to have a seat at the table. If you're going to take our pool, then you need to help us and be with us to figure out how we can bring it back within reason on our residents, whether it's shared or whatever, to keep our pool under our control and keep it open. So, yeah, I'm glad that made it. Glad that made it in there. So,
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I just want to chime in because I do know from our being attending at the PAC meeting and then also talking with the current pool managers and previous pool managers that when that $96,000 has come across as a full benefited position of what they make, all of them were shaking their heads and have said, I don't know where that figure has come from, that it's never been a benefited position. Number one, as far as what they've said. And even though it hasn't been a year round, they're kind of like, I'm not sure where that's coming from. So I just want to put that out there so that we don't start circulating that as a full truth. And that we obviously, I don't think, like I said, have those firm numbers yet. I think that's still a good rough number, but maybe not quite the actual breakdown.
That's what their budget is.
That's okay. Gotcha. So that's what they're budgeting, not necessarily what we're actually spending, and definitely not what we have been spending since I've been here.
gotcha. Okay, no, thanks for clarifying that. I'm sure there's some Ouija math in the background there. So,
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, just to clarify, when I was the employee, I was full benefits. So there was a time that the position was full benefit, and then I had my other part of my job with the school district. But I think it's really important that the city, when you sit down at the table, really find out where those numbers come from. And the 95,000 for a position, and I think they only have that position at maybe, I'm not even sure what there's 4 hours a day or if it's 20 hours a week. I'm not sure what they've got it at. It can't be that much. But again, another point to make for everybody, we're in this situation because our legislature does not increase the BSA the way it should be. And that's something we should be paying attention to. So if we're on a side note, if we haven't already this year, it's time to send a resolution to the Juno and say an increase at BSA because that's what's taking down schools. But yeah, I appreciate everyone's efforts to keeping the vital community part of the pool going. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Just a follow up to your comment there too. And I believe Heidi or Ashley can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this district had said under all scenarios of any BSA funding increase, they're still proposing that the Seldovia pool be closed. Is that correct?
Correct, Mr. Mayor, on any of the three scenarios that they're looking at, including the full $1,000 increase, BSA increase, they are considering shutting the pool down.
Yeah, so
It's in all
they've made up
scenarios.
their mind then. It's foregone conclusion, is how I would like to put it. So, all right. Let's see. Last opportunity for comments before we go to public.
Mr. Mayor, I think that all of us, we should just pitch in equally amounts here and we could come up with 130,000 short of any grant money or private funding. I mean, we all want it open.
Time to start the fundraising.
Yeah, I figured so.
All right, let's go ahead and Liz, anyone from the public wish to weigh in on resolution 25-37?
Like we have Miss Laurel Hiltz.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so when Mr. Lyon first brought it to our attention, the board had met with the finance committee, which they're going to do again tomorrow. And it was in the general fund budget that you found that it was $94,000 that was dedicated to the Susan B. English School pool for the pool manager position. And so The other piece that Heidi was mentioning is in a different fund, and the spirit of the decision to cut Susan Bingler School's pool and the Nanilchik pool, and I think this is where Mr. Lyon is greatly advocating, is a negative spirit that isn't looking at how do we problem solve this? How do we work together? The fact is that we have operated on the goodwill of the district through Mr. Lyon, in which that they've utilized a pool of pool funds to ensure that everything is operating. But I want to say, and I can tell you that when Sunny Hiltz was first on the school board, she would remind them that where they had options of extracurricular or extra classes, like you could take aerobics or jazz or dance, and we're just trying to provide the basics. Why on earth would a school district ever make a choice to cut an elemental program that directly impacts the safety of our children? And so my advocacy in the letter writing is 100% to look at, one, how can we utilize the existing resources of the district, tap into the borough if we need to problem solve and reach into the community coffers as well. But let's have a spirit of problem solving rather than a spirit of severing something that is a vital resource to our children. And not to mention people with disabilities and our elders and all of those who benefit from that pool as a resource in our community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Laurel. Appreciate that perspective. I think that makes a lot of sense. So, a lot of sense. Anyone else, Liz?
Not seeing anyone else, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll go ahead and bring resolution 25-37 back to council for final action.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion. Thought somebody else would. Make a motion to adopt resolution, and tell me again the number.
25-37.
25-37.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Rojas to approve resolution 25-37 with a second by Peyton. Any further discussion on resolution 25-37 before we vote? Harmony, I saw your hand go up, but I'm assuming that's another child that hit that. Perfect. Okay. Hearing no further discussion, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of resolution 25-37. Let's see here. All those in favor, Keithley. You were a little broken. Was that an aye?
That was an aye.
Okay. Langbart.
Aye.
Barber.
Aye.
Rojas.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
And Peyton.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously with 6 in the affirmative, 0 opposed. Thank you to everyone for your discussion and support, along with the community discussion as well. All right, last big item of business tonight, item N, city manager's report.
Hey, now, I guess it will be kind of big. Sorry. So in your laydown, you'll find the city manager's report. There's a lot going on as usual. Just some updates with some of our ongoing projects, the multi-purpose building generation improvement project. We move forward with having some help requesting quotes for generators. We received those this last Friday. So we're going to work through those and make a determination on which generator is the best to purchase based on price and lead time, and hope to have that decision made by the end of the week and the equipment ordered. Boat haul out large trailer repair project. This is a little bit of a cart before the horse, so I apologize and hopefully I don't get slapped on the wrist. We had the opportunity to have the work done on the trailer. So you saw the ordinance on the agenda tonight, appropriating funds for that work. The work started last week. So we had Arc and Fire here. They did the harbor finger hinge pins. They've been doing that annually for us, replacing those 5 at a time. They did 10 at a time here last month. And while he was here, we asked him to take a look at the trailer. He got some equipment that you it's like a laser, you shoot it at the trailer and it determines how thick the steel is. And he provided a report back to us that overall the trailer was in decent condition, but needed some upkeep through sandblasting and painting, and then replacing some of the sheet metal or adding sheet metal to a couple of the casings for the rams. He happened to be here last week, and he provided a quote to start that work. He's leaving next month, so we jumped on it for $9,920 to complete that work. I'd say it's a good thing because as he got into it, of course, it's a little bit more than was anticipated. So we're looking at adding additional sheet metal to all of the ram casings, and then 2 of the Rams cylinders are going to need some extra. We've had 2 replaced in the last couple of decades or last decade, but 2 more were looking pretty rough. That wouldn't be something he'd be able to do. In the past, we had it done in a fabricating shop in Homer. So we're going to look at that. And then, so it'll be a little bit more of a cost to have that done outside of the work he's completing. But that is underway. And next meeting, we'll have an ordinance to approve that appropriation, as well as a resolution to approve that work to be done by Arc and Fire. And I hope that works for everybody because we're really thankful to get that done. And we're already getting calls. Diane came into my office this morning and said, I know he's working on the trailer now, but are we going to be able to move boats in April? I said, well, most boats we can move with the sling trailer. But yes, the plan is that this trailer will be up and going for those that need the bigger trailer so we can be able to provide that service. Seldovia Upper Dam. I don't know if you guys saw that request for, it should say quotes, not proposals, went out last week, and it was issued March 14th, so 10 days ago. Asking for quotes to perform the periodic safety inspection. That's a requirement every 3 years. We have received 1 quote and then a couple of comments. One saying that they will defer to this quote because they know that they can't be beat, which was interesting. So that closes on April 7th. And then hopefully, I know that's a quick turnaround, but if there's a special meeting on the 8th, it'd be great to be able to present that and have that award approved. That way we can get the work done before the end of the fiscal year because we've budgeted for that work to be done this fiscal year instead of having to budget for it to be done next fiscal year. Plus, we're overdue for it. One item I wanted to note is that the condition of the dam is poor. That was noted in both 2016 and in the 2022 periodic safety inspection, and there haven't been a lot of improvements since that time. So I'm anticipating to get that note back again. This project is listed in our capital improvement plan as a #1 priority. And I think as some of these other projects start getting underway, like the raw water, the septic lift station and Jackloff, that potentially this would be a really pertinent project to start turning our eye to and pursuing funding for, because it's been a little while that it's needed it. Speaking of septic lift station replacement project, Marty with Peninsula Construction will be in Seldovia this Friday with a few crew members. They want to look over the infrastructure once more before they mobilize and come over on a upcoming ferry. So they're hoping to do that in the first couple of weeks of April, depending on the ferry schedule. He has all of the parts, so we believe. I'm just going to walk through it and make sure everything is ready and set to go. And potentially that project could take place here, like I said, beginning of April. That would be really exciting and would ease some of the public works minds and my mind, as well as anybody else who wakes up in the middle of the night thinking about sewer. Raw water transmission line replacement project. Just wanted to give an update that we have not had any additional requests for information since the last time. But we did hear from the EPA on last Thursday, that they had an additional review that they needed to complete due to the executive orders that were placed. They're working through those and waiting for the grant to be released so that they can complete these funding requests. In addition, we did receive a draft RFP from Greg McGee of the RCAC at the end of last week. This is a design build project. I still need to review the RFP, and then once the funding is approved, we should be able to bring that forward to council for approval to issue that RFP and then potentially move forward with that project. So think good thoughts. 2023 state and local cybersecurity grant program. If you remember, we applied for the 2022 last year and we received it, and we had a cybersecurity risk assessment complete. There were quite a few recommendations out of that assessment. We're working through AST. That's our IT firm that we work with, Alaska Technical Solutions out of Juneau, for some quotes and further recommendations on how to complete some of the recommendations from the assessment. And we'll include those in the upcoming budget for FY26, as well as really the big thing was that we needed firmer policies, including an incident response plan. So we did receive a quote from Structured, who performed the assessment, and they have a negotiated contract with AML to perform these services for municipalities in Alaska. For $15,000 to create that cybersecurity policy and incident response plan. So we utilized that as our ask in this grant cycle. So, and that with that, we were able to submit an application by the deadline of last Friday, March 21st. So that is in. And we'll be bringing more things forward, like I said, with the FY26 budget to make sure that we keep making progress on that. For the CDBG grant application, I've had some questions on whether that funding is still available. In December, we applied for funding to replace the fuel retail and distribution facility. So that's SFL's roofs, the one on the dock and the one on the corner there. That's definitely been a need for a couple of years. And I spoke with the DCRA office. They said that the funding for FY24 is secure. So it's available, and they have reviewed all of the applications from December. They're sitting on the commissioner's office and they're just waiting for final approval, and they'll make announcements in the next couple of weeks. Fingers crossed we're chosen. Speaking of other grant programs, we were on a pause for the REAP project. That was the City Office and Maintenance Shop Energy Improvements Project. We purchased the new bay door for the shop, which is so lovely. And then we were told to be put on hold. Well, we got the news today that we can proceed, that the reimbursements were still taking place. So we should see the reimbursement for the rest of the purchase of the door. And we have started looking for quotes to purchase the doors and the windows for the building. And then we're hoping to have an RFP for the installation of the shop on that April, if we hold that special meeting April 8th. So that we can get that issued and potentially get somebody on board to do that work, hopefully this summer. for fall. Aqua Main Street inlets and the Vista and Frank Raby Stormwater Improvements Project are continuing forward. This is same information from last time. I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware that this is also in process. Potentially when that grant agreement comes through and is finalized, we'll be able to purchase the pickup room. So we're hoping to do that here in the next month. That will be an attachment for our loader so we can help do some of the street sweeping in the community at earlier dates than waiting for the ferry in the state. And then the additional work for Main Street and for Vista and Frank Raby culvert replacement. And just a note that our drainage map and stormwater management plan also through Aqua, that project has closed or is being closed out. So that was a successful project. We were glad to see that completed. We had the discussion about the Susan B. English School pool closure. I should say you guys did. I also wanted to point out that the next Seldovia Recreational Service Area Board meeting is scheduled for April 1st. And I believe this will be a discussion item on their agenda. And that, as mentioned, the KPSD Board of Education meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 7th. So meeting with finance tomorrow, and then board meeting on Monday, April 7th. We already mentioned Mount Spur, and we're taking steps and watching that. Northwest Clerks Institute. This one's exciting. I just wanted to give a shout out to Clerk Diamond, who received a scholarship to attend professional development training 2. She did 1 last year in Tacoma, Washington from June 8th through the 13th. So this is a really huge opportunity. I was able to do it myself as a city clerk, and I can't speak enough about how invaluable it is to, not only to have those specific trainings about elections and minutes and the role of the clerk, but also to network and meet other clerks from Alaska, Washington, and Oregon. So pretty great group of people, and just want to say congratulations, Liz. Can't wait to see what you bring back. Water meters came up in the previous budget discussion. I did reach out to Jordan Cameron with ARWA, and he has agreed to investigate how other communities have added metering to their systems and trying to evaluate what would be a good fit for Seldovia. He does anticipate that this process will take a little while, but he seemed excited about it and said that he would even love to be able to come and present what he finds. So we're happy to have his support in that process.
Hey, Heidi.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you before you jump on there real quick. While I was on vacation, I thought a couple thoughts came to me on the water meters. I think what we need to do in short order is just institute. I mean, we've talked about it now for years, is just institute a simple pilot program with 2 or 3 residences, 2 or 3 businesses, maybe 1 municipal building, and, buy, 8 or 10 meters, get them installed. I did some looking, and the Wi-Fi there's so many simple gadgets nowadays, anywhere from, you can get them all the way down to $30, but if you want it Wi-Fi enabled so that you can read it, anywhere from $200 to $500, you can get a decent meter. And in an hour it can be installed and you're up and running. So just a thought, a pilot program would be way cheaper and be the first step in getting it moving, and put the arguments aside. Let's get a year or 2 of data to see what we're actually burning in each of these establishments and businesses, and then we can actually have an educated conversation about it. So, but until we do that, we're just going to be spinning our wheels. So,
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Yes, we will look into that. That's a great idea. And then carrying through, we already discussed that the FY24 audit is in process, hoping to have that draft financial statement by the end of the week. I wanted to give an update on the Seldovia Comprehensive Plan progress. So heard back from the Alaska Municipal League today. They do want to continue supporting the city's efforts to update the plan. Currently, that looks like they're hoping to have a storyboard, which is would be part of a virtual meeting page of what our comprehensive plan is now that people could go to and provide comment on, so that we could open that up and potentially we'll do out mailers and flyers and a lot of awareness, provide a lot of awareness so that people can go to that page and provide public comment. They're hoping to get that to us by the end of the week to review. I think that's probably a little zealous, but we'll see. Overzealous. But with that, then they would also like to help us host a town hall meeting in May so that we can facilitate more input from the community. And then based on that input, we'll jump off from there and about any additional research needed, review, public engagement that could be supported, and have the intent of having a draft update available in August for public review. So that's pretty quick. But I think really the biggest piece, I don't think the formatting, the writing, the plan is going to be that big because we're using our existing plan. So really the biggest piece is having that public input and really hearing what the community has to say, and then being able to bring it back to the commission and to the council to have that vetting of what is what the city is actually capable of completing and what direction we are headed as an organization. So looking forward to getting that started with them. Employee vacancies, I wanted to point out that we did take down the Public Works Operator 1 or 2 position. David Botero has come on board as a part-time water and public works operator. I do think I said this at the last meeting, but just really want to bring attention to what an excellent job he's done so far. He's been working pretty much every day, Monday through Friday, with Radzi up at the water treatment plant. And I think he gets to start taking some solo shifts here this week. So he's doing a really great job. If you see him, definitely give him some encouragement and thank him for coming online and tell him, you're hearing he's doing good things. I also wanted to point out that the ferry line handler position has been posted. We did end up filling it by a reoccurring team member, Cindy Mom. However, we are still looking for a backup ferry land handler, as well as a backup refuse collection operator. So we're keeping it up for just a little bit longer. I might post just a backup fill-up position here within the week. Harbor assistant positions will be posted next month. And then we kind of keep talking around it. I just wanted to throw that out there that we're looking at potentially holding a special meeting April 8th, if that works for council. I know it's a Tuesday, but knowing the importance of the April 7th meeting for the Board of Education, I wanted everybody to have that opportunity to attend that. There are some time-sensitive items that it would be great to address, one being the RFP for the maintenance shop, the other to award the upper dam PSI, and then appropriating the funds for the BH Hub large trailer repair. This would be done in lieu of the April 14th meeting because City Clerk Diamond and I will be away. We just happen to both have functions. We're not going away together, but we'll both be away on personal leave. As you know, I am accompanying the kiddos to Washington, D.C., so I will be in DC that week of April 14th. So instead of waiting until April 28th, if we could conduct business early, if that works for council, I think it could be beneficial to have that April 8th meeting and then potentially a work session the following day so that we can get through some more of these budget items. And on that note, on page 11 here is an upcoming meeting schedule, tentative meeting schedule with the FY26 budget work session cycle for March and April. I almost dived into May, but that got a little hairy. So you'll see the meetings that we've already made it through. This Wednesday will be a standalone work session about the general fund and special revenue funds. I pretty much have those drafted, those budgets in draft form. And then I was going to try to get a draft of the fee schedule together beforehand as well. Just because it's a standalone meeting, I wanted to have plenty of material. That way we can see how far we get. And if we don't get that far, that's fine because it's a lot of material. but at least having it available. There's a Safe Streets for All final presentation during a joint work session with the Council and the Planning Commission on April 2nd at 5 p.m. That's prior to the next Seldovia Planning Commission meeting. That says April 7th, but it should say April 8th special meeting. April 9th standalone work session, and that will be either the fee schedule if we don't get to it on Wednesday, or capital projects, which should be a fun discussion as we start looking at some different items that the city can move forward with in the future, or at least planning for items to move forward with. April 14th, as I said, would be canceled. And then April 23rd or the 28th or 30th could be another work session for budget, either on loose ends, capital projects, or depending how far we get, the final draft budget presentation. That April 28th will also be a regular meeting. So please let me know if these dates do or do not work for you. And I'm sure we'll give phone calls as we get closer. Seldovia Planning Commission update, and the rest of the comments here are from the last meeting or previous. So if you have any other comments or questions, please let me know.
All right, thank you. Lots of information and lots of meetings. So any questions or comments for the city manager?
Mayor Campbell,
Yep, go ahead, John.
I hate to ask you, Heidi, but on the repairs of that trailer, you were referring to a couple of cylinders, so they got to be rebuilt or?
Yes.
Okay, but that's where I was going. So, in lieu of rebuilding those cylinders, have we got a price on new replacements or remanufactured replacements?
I don't have either of those, so I'll have to look into it.
Okay. Just as an example, I had a fire extinguisher rebuilt last summer here. It cost me $1,200 and I could have replaced it for $3. So I know you guys do what you need to do. I just ask and maybe we could check.
Absolutely.
And I might be able to give you a phone number on a hydraulic shop.
I'd
It'd have
appreciate
some
that.
shipping involved, but yeah, that I think you could. Pretty hard to me to believe unless there's something really, really special, you could probably find a cylinder to fit that need.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Anyone else? Questions, comments for the manager? All right, sounds good. We'll wrap it up here. Item O, informational items not requiring action. Seldovia City Office will be closed on March 31st, 2025 in observance of Seward's Day. Item O2, a Safe Streets for All, SS4A. Joint work session with planning will be held on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025, prior to the regular planning commission meeting. Heidi had just alluded to that, and it's also on page 41 of your packet. And then item O3, introduction of ordinance 2509 was postponed pending a work session. Work session on the ordinance is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yep.
I forgot to include that we're actually looking at potentially pushing that back because of this big budget schedule to May 5th or May 14th, if that works for council.
Okay. Yep. Well, you guys do what you got to do and pull the council, and whatever we can make work, we'll make it work. So let's see here. Then item O4, City Manager Gagel and City Clerk Diamont will be on personal leave the week of April 13th. And item O5, a special meeting may be held on Tuesday, April 28th at 6 p.m. in lieu of the April 14th regular meeting, again, as is on our little diagrammatic sketch there of our meetings. So yeah, obviously the staff will be reaching out, and we'll be scheduling when we can get the majority of council members present for any number of these meetings. So item P, executive session, none. Item Q, council and mayor comments concerning items not on the agenda. Keithley.
Nothing this evening.
Langbart.
No comment.
Okay, Barber.
No comment.
Rojas.
Just thank you to everyone for all your service. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vin. Kennedy.
No, just thank you to the city staff for their hard work and good evening.
And Peyton.
No comment. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'll just like to thank everyone tonight and the public for all the conversation. Good work. And thanks to the staff for keeping it going and putting it all together. Next meeting will be a regular meeting on let's see, Monday, April 14th. That one we're still having, right? That's not the canceled one.
Nope. That's the canceled one, but we wanted to have approval from council before we put that out there. So next meeting will be potentially April 8th.
Okay, sounds good. And then look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
I second that.
second.
All right. Motion to adjourn by Rojas, second by Kennedy. Any objections to the motion to adjourn? Hearing none,
No.
adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
All right, good night.
Hey, Heidi.
Bye.